Imagine you're enjoying a quiet morning at your favorite park when an entitled Karen storms over, screaming racism and dialing the cops on you, only she has no idea who she's messing with. Welcome back to Mr. Greg Stories, where we dive into real-life tales of racism, revenge, and redemption. Let know in the comments section where you are watching from and what time it is, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more intense stories like this. The morning sun shimmered through the windshield of my blacked-out 2022 Chevy Tahoe as I pulled into the parking lot of Rustwood Park. It was my one day off this month, and I planned to enjoy it in peace. No uniform. No badge. Just me, my German Shepherd named Titan, and a good run to clear my head. I wore a hoodie, track pants, and mirrored sunglasses, nothing that screamed law enforcement. The county sheriff's department badge and Glock 19 stayed locked in the hidden compartment under the front seat. Titan leapt out excitedly, sniffing the crisp spring air as I locked up the Tahoe. I waved to a few early joggers and set off down the tree-lined trail that curled around the lake. Birds chirped, the breeze whistled gently through the leaves. It was one of those rare peaceful days. Half a mile in, I spotted a commotion near the picnic area. A woman, blonde bob, oversized sunglasses, tight yoga pants, stood flailing her arms like she was swatting invisible bees. A younger black couple sat on the grass nearby, visibly uncomfortable. I told you people, this is a family park. The woman screeched. You don't belong here. My steps slowed. Titan tensed at my side. The man calmly replied, Ma'am, we're just here having breakfast. Don't you dare ma'am me. I've already called the police. I stayed back, observing. The woman, clearly a Karen, stomped to her white SUV. Rummaging in her purse. Her voice grew louder, Yeah, I'm reporting trespassers, dangerous people with drugs. I feel threatened. I clenched my jaw. The couple looked shocked. She's lying, the woman whispered to her boyfriend. Titan growled low. I held him back and stepped forward, still not revealing who I was. I figured I'd handle it subtly, see how far this circus would go. Everything all right here? I asked, voice calm but firm. Karen spun around. Who are you? You one of them? Of course. All of you stick together. I glanced at the couple. You folks okay? The man nodded. We were just eating some sandwiches. She came over yelling. Karen pointed a trembling finger at me. I've got the real cops coming. You better not go anywhere. Real cops. I echoed, you heard me. My brother-in-law works with federal task force units. They'll be here any minute. All of you are going to jail. I raised an eyebrow. Federal task force. At a public park, within minutes, a matte black Dodge Charger came skidding into the parking lot. Out hopped two men in tactical vests, no identifiable patches, no name tags, just police in bold white letters. One had a shaved head and Oakleys. The other looked like he just walked out of a militia camp, right there. Karen screamed. That's them. The men approached us fast, hands near their waists. My instincts kicked in. Let me see some ID, I said. Oakley guy frowned. Who the hell are you? I kept my stance neutral. Just a concerned citizen asking for proper identification. Step back, the other growled. You interfering? They didn't know me. That was the dangerous part. Before they could move further, Titan stepped in front of me, teeth bared. The couple was frozen, terrified. Karen, meanwhile, smirked and crossed her arms. This is what happens when you mess with the wrong people, she said smugly. Oakley guy reached for something in his vest. I watched carefully, too carefully. It wasn't a badge. It was a baton. Last warning, I said. Show ID. You don't give orders. Militiaman barked. I was done playing. With a swift motion, I reached into my hoodie pocket, pulled out my phone, and tapped the emergency call shortcut. Dispatch, this is Unit 307, badge number 1180. I need immediate assistance at Rustwood Park, possible impersonators claiming to be law enforcement. I'm on scene. There was a pause. Then the voice came back, copy that, Sheriff. Back up en route. Karen's face twisted in confusion. What? You're, County Sheriff, I said, finally pulling the badge from my back pocket and holding it up. Now everybody freeze. Oakley guy swore under his breath and backed up slightly. Militiaman still looked like he wanted to lunge. You're bluffing, Karen hissed. He's bluffing, right? The couple looked stunned. I stepped forward, voice like steel. Hands in the air. Right now. Militiaman grunted. Screw this. He lunged, big mistake, in a single motion. I sidestepped and swept his legs out from under him. He hit the ground hard, and Titan pinned him, snarling inches from his face. Oakley guy went for his waistband. Pop, I fired a warning shot into the ground. Dirt flew. Oakley dropped his weapon and raised his hands. Okay. Okay. Sirens echoed in the distance. Real deputies swarmed into the park moments later, guns drawn. Karen started yelling, wait. They're my friends. They were protecting me. I shook my head slowly. Deputies cuffed the two fake cops and secured their vehicle. Inside the Charger. A trunk full of zip ties, pepper spray, a fake police scanner, and some very questionable ID cards. Karen panicked. I didn't know. They said they were real. I was just trying to keep the park safe. Deputy Reynolds, one of my best, looked at her coldly. You lied on a 911 call. You falsely reported a crime. And you interfered with a law enforcement investigation. Karen went pale. But he's black. She stammered. He didn't look like a sheriff. The couple watched, stunned, as Karen was led away in cuffs. I walked over to them. Sorry you had to deal with all that. Wait, the man said slowly. You're really the sheriff? I nodded. Yeah. Off duty, but never off the clock. His girlfriend looked at Karen being loaded into a cruiser. That was insane. She could have gotten us killed. I nodded again. Believe me, I know. As I patted Titan's head, I looked at the Charger being towed away and the chaos settling into order. I had a strong feeling this wasn't over. Not yet. 3 days later, the dawn light crept across my desk at the county sheriff's office. I still wore plain clothes, jeans, polo shirt, but my badge hung in full view on a chain around my neck. Titan lounged under my desk, ears perked as I flipped through the evidence bag containing gear from the fake Charger, makeshift police ID cards, a handheld radio tuned to emergency channels, a tactical baton, and rolls of zip ties. Deputy Marquez stood beside me, arms crossed. Sheriff, none of these IDs match any legitimate department, she said, tapping a counterfeit driver's license with suspicious vintage fonts. Looks like they printed them in someone's basement. But the tech is advanced, security holograms. Micro-etching. I frowned. We're not dealing with a lone Karen this time. Someone funded those guys. Maybe a small crime network running stings to intimidate folks. I slid the bag under the plexiglass top. Call the forensic team, get prints off the radio and baton. Also trace the radio's frequency and serials. Marquez nodded and hurried off. Titan stretched, then thumped his tail against the floor. I scratched behind his ears. Good boy, I murmured. Stay sharp today. Just then my cell buzzed. I read the alert, armed suspects posing as officers. Hostage situation at Miller's Market, Elm Street. Urgent assistance requested. My lips curved into a grim smile. No rest for the wicked. Titan, gear up. I grabbed my Glock, loaded fresh rounds, and slung my vest over one shoulder. Titan sniffed the air, tail rigid. We sprinted to the patrol SUV, parked in the lot. Lights off, never announce my presence before I'm ready. Within seconds, we were tearing down Highway 14, sirens off to avoid tipping off the imposters. I engaged the override on the traffic lights, watching green follow us like a ribbon. My mind raced. 2 weeks ago it was a simple park stunt, now people's lives were on the line. At the corner of Elm and 5th, I spotted Miller's Market. Its front windows were dark, aisle lights off. A lone police cruiser, lights flashing, sat askew in the parking lot. 2 uniformed deputies crouched behind it. Their faces paled when they saw me slide out. Sheriff. One called. Thank God. I nodded curtly. What's the layout? Deputy Slater pointed. 2 suspects inside, both in agency-style vests, fake patches like the ones from the park. They ordered the store clerk to her knees. One's got a hostage, a little girl, maybe 6, red jacket. He's holding her at gunpoint behind the produce aisle. Titan growled low. Stay here, I whispered. Titan remained still, gaze fixed on the entrance. I took a deep breath, edged toward the front door. The wind carried faint cries, stay back. No sudden moves. I pressed against the glass, scanning the interior. Wooden shelves lined with canned goods, the checkout counter to the right. The suspect stood near the back, one pacing, the other keeping the girl's hair in a loose grip. Behind them, the clerk's eyes were wide with fear. I tapped my comms. This is Sheriff Matthews. I want those vests off the suspects and their hands where I can see them. Now. Who the hell is Matthews? The pacing man barked. Show yourself or the kid gets it. I didn't answer. Instead, I circled to the side entrance, a narrow service door. Titan followed, silent as smoke. I cracked it open and slipped inside. The metallic clang echoed down the dim aisle. The suspects froze, swiveled toward us, before they could raise their weapons. Titan strained at the leash. I released it. With a roar, Titan lunged toward the vest-wearing man, jaws snapping. He yelped and dropped the girl, scrambling backward. The other suspect leveled his pistol at me. Don't move, deputy scum. He snarled. I dove behind a stack of soda crates, fired a warning shot into the ceiling. Plaster dust fluttered down. Drop it. I shouted. Titan had the first suspect pinned, teeth at the man's throat. The suspect's eyes bugged out. He slapped his vest, retrieving a hidden taser, but Titan knocked it from his hand. The second suspect fired wildly. Metal pinged off the shelving next to me. I rolled, aimed, and fired twice into the floorboards. The suspect dropped the gun, hands raised. I stepped out, leveling my pistol. On your knees. He complied, trembling. Titan released the other man, who scrambled to sit, chest heaving. The little girl ran into the clerk's arms, both trembling. Deputy Slater pounded in through the front entrance with backup, securing the scene. I kept my weapon trained on the kneeling imposters until cuffs clicked around their wrists. Nice work, Sheriff, Slater said, loading the girl into her arms. Wish I had a K9. I holstered my Glock, patting Titan's head. You were perfect, boy. Titan wagged his tail, tongue lolling. Slater glanced at the vests. Same patches, County Sheriff's Department. But everything's off. These guys were pros. I'll bet they learned from the first failure at Rustwood. I studied the suspects. Sweat ran down their faces. Names. One stuttered, I'm Danny Soto. This is Mike Reynolds. We were hired by who? I demanded. Reynolds spat blood. Won't tell you. I leaned close. You think you can protect that name from a jail cell? Because if you don't talk, you're going to love sharing a bunk with every messed up gang leader in this county. Under my stare, both men looked away. I stepped back, then raised my voice. Make the call, Slater. I want those prints processed, phones tapped if they have any. And notify the district attorney. I want charges filed immediately for kidnapping, impersonating an officer, and child endangerment. Slater saluted. Yes, Sheriff. As everyone cleared the market, Titan nosed my hand. I knelt, giving him a treat from my pocket. His tail thumped. Then I rose, dusting off my jeans. Let's get back to the office, I told him. I need to find out who's behind you two jokers and that Karen. My mind raced. This network was bigger than one entitled suburban woman. They'd escalate again. Maybe next time someone wouldn't be so lucky. Before leaving, I walked over to the little girl, who peered at me wide-eyed. You're the real sheriff, she whispered. I gave her a kind smile. Always. Then I winked at Titan. Outside, the sun sank low, painting the sky red. A storm was coming, and so were we. A week had passed since the chaos at Miller's Market, but I was no closer to unraveling the conspiracy's mastermind. The early morning sunlight streamed through the blinds of my office as Titan lounged on the rug beside my desk, vigilantly eyeing every passerby. I sat across from Deputy Marquez and Deputy Slater, both poring over security logs and phone records. Look at this, Marquez said, sliding a printed screenshot onto the table. It showed a private encrypted chat group on the dark web, labeled Operation Whiteout. The group's administrators had posted coordinates for 3 high-value targets in our county: Richmond Manor, Crestview School, and the county administrative building. Each listing included photos and notes on security details. Worse, they'd scheduled staged raids at each location over the next 2 weeks. Slater shook his head. They're planning more fake cops assaults. Kidnappings, intimidation, maybe worse. I tapped my pen against the table. We need to hit them before they strike again. Rune up a task force, me, Marquez, Slater, and Titan. We'll go dark. No radio chatter. We'll use hand signals and Titan's keen nose. I stood. I'm calling a briefing at 0800 hours at the old freight yard on County Line Road. Bring your gear. By dawn, our team assembled at the abandoned freight yard, a sprawling complex of rusted warehouses and overgrown tracks. I handed each deputy a folded slip of paper. These are new aliases and uniforms, courtesy of Internal Affairs. We're going undercover as a county task force, complete with faux badges and rented vehicles. We'll meet our informant there. Slater frowned. Doesn't that risk tipping off our suspects? I nodded. It's a risk we have to take. We need boots on the ground. Titan wore a tactical harness, equipped with a mini camera and Kevlar padding. He whisked his nose against my leg, ready. Good boy, I murmured. Let's move. We slipped into a nondescript white van and drove to the first set of coordinates, a dilapidated warehouse at the edge of Crestwood Farms. The building's boarded windows gave it the look of a condemned facility. I killed the engine 50 yards out. We moved on foot, silent as ghosts. Through a cracked side door, we heard muffled voices. Titan signaled, tail rigid. I raised my hand, 2 fingers pointed left. Slater and Marquez fanned out, heels clicking on concrete. I crept up behind a stack of pallets, peering around the corner at 3 men inside, dressed in black tactical gear with those stolen sheriff's patches. One man barked into a walkie-talkie, target secured. Awaiting instruction. Titan emitted a low growl. I squeezed the rubber bulb on his harness, his camera live fed to my phone. I dialed the cell of my backup team, cupping my mouth. Go, I whispered. Across the lot, 2 marked cruisers roared in. Lights off but sirens muted. Backup flanked the building. Inside, chaos erupted. I burst through the door, gun drawn. Sheriff's Department. Drop your weapons. The men spun. One raised an Uzi. Marquez fired first, her shot ringing true, dropping him to his knees. Slater tackled another as Titan leapt onto the third, sending him sprawling against a steel barrel. I cuffed the first, then the second. The third tried to reach for a hidden pistol. Titan pinned him, teeth bared. I ripped off his helmet to reveal Mike Reynolds, fresh blood on his brow. He spat, "You can't stop this." I clipped his cuffs tight. "You already lost." I signaled Titan to release him. The little dog bounded back to my side. Licking my finger. I patted his head. "Nice work." Back at headquarters, I interrogated Reynolds in the steel interview room. Slater watched through the glass. "Reynolds, tell me Houston's plan," I demanded. He sneered. "Lyle Houston is just a middleman. The real organizer is someone higher up, someone with power in this county." My stomach churned. "Names." He looked behind. "You'll get them when you're dead." I stood, pacing. "Your boss wants to strike the county administration building next, tomorrow at noon, during the board meeting. He's got insiders planting weapons and planting evidence. If they hit that target, they'll destroy our entire chain of command." Marquez entered. Breathless. We traced Caldwell's phone contacts. She messaged a coordinator named Ivory Tower. The number registered to a shell company in town, Silvercrest Holdings. I frowned. Silvercrest Holdings. That's the management firm for the county admin building. I exchanged a look with Marquez. They're deeply embedded. The next morning, I drove Titan and 2 deputies to the rear entrance of the county administrative complex, posing as maintenance contractors. Slater carried a duffel bag full of supposed cleaning supplies. Marquez had her camera dog harness on Titan. I held the body camera feed steady on my chest, catching Titan's every move. Inside, we found the maintenance corridor. Its fluorescent lights flickering. I accessed the security panel by sliding my fake badge. The door clicked open. Inside the server room, I spotted the Silvercrest ID badge clipped to a desk. I snapped a photo. "This is our inn," I whispered. Titan sniffed the floor, leading us past a locked gate. He pawed at a small hatch, an old coal chute used for heating. I lifted it. We crawled through the narrow tunnel, emerging beneath the main boardroom. I peeked through the grill vent. County officials were seated, mid-discussion. I tapped my comms. "Now." Marquez stealthily replaced the tampered microphone pack on the podium with a transmitter of our own. Slater replaced the planted weapons with harmless replicas. I climbed back through the tunnel, signaling Titan to stay. Once in the corridor, we heard loud voices repeating an emergency code. Someone had triggered a lockdown. Footsteps thundered toward the tunnel entrance. Titan growled. I slid behind a wall. A uniformed security guard entered, rifle lowered. "Check that hatch." He pried it open. The hatch creaked. I readied my rifle, heart pounding. The guard shoved his head through. I leapt, knocking him inside. He hit the ground with a thud. Titan pounced, pinning him as I slapped on cuffs. "No one rushes the county sheriff," I muttered. Downstairs, Marquez's voice crackled. "All clear in the boardroom. No real weapons, just your replicas. The officials are safe and confused." Slater added, "They've locked down Silvercrest offices. Nobody's leaving." I exhaled. "Good work. Let's wrap this up." Titan barked in agreement. Then I noticed movement at the far end of the corridor. While Houston, heading toward the rear exit with a duffel bag, I sprinted after him. Houston glanced back, eyes widening. "Sheriff, wait." He bolted for the door. I tackled him, sending the bag flying. Papers spilled, emails, financial records, orders of operation, and a document stamped county seal with signatures of a high-ranking official. Houston struggled under my weight. "You can't expose them all." I pressed my knee into his shoulder. "Watch me." Before I could cuff him, deafening sirens echoed outside, followed by the distant roar of a helicopter overhead. The back exit swung open. In the headlights of a black armored van, a figure in a tailored suit stepped forward, holding a smartphone to his ear. Houston's eyes darted. "It's him. They're here." I glanced up, and suddenly realized this conspiracy reached farther than I ever imagined. I rose from the floor, adrenaline pounding through my veins. The suited man's silhouette shimmered in the floodlights behind him, the battened armored van blocking the corridor's far end. He held his phone at ear level, fingers tapping commands. The sirens outside melded with distant chatter, creating a chaotic symphony. Lyle Houston lay unconscious at my feet, his duffel bag's contents scattered across the polished tile. "Sheriff," the stranger's voice crackled through speakerphone, smooth and authoritative. His lips curved into a subtle smirk as he tapped the screen. "I need Houston extracted. Leave him be, or your precious little department will wish it never existed." I leveled my firearm at him. Heart hammering. "You're not walking out of here, mister. Who are you?" He glanced sideways, hands slipping into his jacket. The light caught a gold-encrusted badge clipped to his lapel, County Commissioner Richard Hallstrom. My blood ran cold. Richard Hallstrom lowered his phone and gave me an icy stare. "I warned you, Sheriff. Stand down, or we escalate." Fury surged through me. This was bigger than I imagined, an orchestrated coup from inside the county's highest office. "You're corrupt." "I won't back down," I growled, using my badge to shield the phone speaker, ensuring he heard me. "Release your goons, step away, and put that phone down." Hallstrom chuckled. "You're outnumbered. Reinforcements are inbound." He swept his hand toward the van's rear doors. They opened with a hydraulic hiss, revealing 6 heavily armed mercenaries in matching tactical vests, no insignia, black helmets with tinted visors, rifles aimed. Deputy Slater and Deputy Marquez emerged beside me, weapons drawn. Titan crouched low, hackles raised. "We've got your back, Sheriff," Marquez hissed. Slater nodded, voice steely. "Time to disperse these stormtroopers." At my signal, a volley of gunfire rocked the corridor. I dove behind a bank of servers as bullets splintered metal and sparks flew. Marquez returned fire with pinpoint accuracy, sending a mercenary crashing into the wall. Slater rolled forward. firing, then vaulted over a toppled shelf. Titan bounded between us, fangs bared as he intercepted a foe rushing me from the flank. I sprang up and fired 2 shots at the corridor light, plunging the hallway into flickering darkness. The mercenaries' night vision gear clicked on, green glow illuminating them like specters. I gripped my rifle tightly, tracking their movements by sound, boots sliding, rifles charging. With a roar, Titan lunged at the nearest mercenary's leg, bringing him down in a tangle of Kevlar and steel. The man dropped his rifle, Marquez rushed in and cuffed him. Slater spun, kicking away a charging combatant with expert precision. Shots rang out close as I made my way toward Hallstrom. Richard backed up slowly, eyes wide with feigned innocence. His phone call ended. "You're making a mistake, Sheriff," he hissed. I pressed my muzzle to his temple. "You're under arrest for conspiracy, corruption, racketeering, and attempted murder. Surrender peacefully, or we end this right now." The corridor's overhead sprinklers suddenly activated, water cascading and gleaming as it pooled underfoot. The mercenaries struggled to keep balance, their rifles became slippery hazards. In the chaos, I saw an opening. Hallstrom's grip faltered. Marquez lunged, snatching his phone. Static crackled as she severed his connection. A deafening roar filled my ears as another armored van barreled through the glass entrance at the end of the corridor. Shattered shards exploded outward. More black-clad assailants poured in, unleashing heavy automatic fire that shredded nearby server racks. "Retreat." I snapped. "Fall back to the maintenance shaft, now." Marquez and Slater corralled the prisoners, cuffing Hallstrom to Reynolds. Titan barked a challenge, then followed as we sprinted toward the hatch I had used earlier. Bullets sprayed the walls, pinging steel beams overhead. We dove into the narrow tunnel, water cascading behind us. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Backup deputies there on the boardroom side reported mercenaries advancing through every corridor. The administration building was under siege. Once inside the shaft, I crouched. Weapon trained on the hatch above. "We need an exit plan," Slater panted. "They have the main corridors." I pulled out a small charge from my vest. "We blow a breach into the electrical control room, redirect the power and lock them out." Marquez frowned. "Won't that fry Hallstrom's evidence?" I shook my head. "We'll seal the room afterward. The town will believe a power surge caused a malfunction." Titan nosed the charge. I strapped it to the wall near the hatch. My heartbeat thundered in my chest as I double-checked the timer. 10 seconds, get down." I yelled, pressing a lever and sprinting back into the tunnel. Water splashed as Marquez and Slater followed. A blinding flash erupted. Then a concussive blast. The electrical control room's door caved inward, sparks arced, and the entire top corridor went dark. Screams and shouting echoed above. I looked at my team. "We've bought ourselves time. Let's move." We crawled deeper into the maintenance network, merging into a hidden service tunnel that led to the west stairwell. I radioed dispatch, "All units, secure perimeters. Suspects contained." "Affirmative. We're exfiltrating Hallstrom. Prepare warrants." A triumphant grin spread across my face despite the sting of adrenaline and water in my eyes. We had stopped a full-scale takeover. But I knew the battle wasn't over. The real mastermind was still at large. I flicked off my night vision, slung my rifle, and patted Titan's harness. "Good work, boys. Now let's bring these rats to justice." Emerging through a grate near the riverbank, the shaft spat us into swirling mist and cold night air. We stepped onto cobblestone alley, sirens wailing like distant banshees. Titan shook himself, droplets scattering in floodlight. My boots sank into puddles of oil and grime. I hauled Hallstrom by cuff chain, shoulders slumped, face ashen. Despite our victory, doubt gnawed at me. If Hallstrom had backup at his fingertips, who else was pulling strings? I vowed to finish this fight, no matter the cost. The county depends on us prevailing. The cold river mist still clung to my tactical boots as I marched through the precinct's rear entrance, Hallstrom's cuffed form in tow. Titan padded quietly beside me, his eyes darting to every uniformed deputy we passed. The interrogation room sat at the end of a dimly lit hallway, windows barred against prying eyes. I marched them into the small steel chamber. Slater locked the door behind me. I tossed my wet jacket onto a chair and leaned forward, planting my palms flat on the metal table between us. The two men glared in tired defiance. "Commissioner Hallstrom," I began, my voice low and measured. "You orchestrated an armed uprising in this very building. You tried to dismantle my department from the inside. Now you'll answer for every act of violence and conspiracy. And you're not leaving until you give me the names of everyone involved." Hallstrom's lip curled. "You think you have any leverage? You nearly got us killed." I pointed to the stain on the table. "It'll stay there. You'll both watch it rust if you don't talk." He hesitated. "You're playing a losing hand, Sheriff." He then said, "They recruited you because you're unpredictable." I frowned. "They? Who's behind this?" Reynolds spoke first, voice hoarse. "They call themselves Ivory Tower. It's a front for a private security conglomerate. They're contracted by powerful interests to control local government." "Name names," I insisted. "Who are your clients?" Hallstrom smirked. "You'll never expose them all. They're deeply embedded in every branch, local businesses, elected officials, even some you trust. Start with the council member who promised you immunity." The commissioner's eyes flickered. "Councilman Everett Carrington. Family fortune, pulled strings for decades. He bankrolled half the operation." I caught Marquez's raised eyebrow through the glass. "Carrington. The city's most influential power broker." My jaw tightened. "Anyone else?" Hallstrom said, "Mayor Linda Hayes. She knew, she approved the budget to hire Ivory Tower operatives as security consultants." I noted them. 2 high-profile names. Enough to blow open the lid on the conspiracy if I could gather evidence. But these women had the resources to bury any scandal. The stakes just went higher. Suddenly, the lights flickered. Footsteps thundered in the hallway beyond. I grabbed my radio. "All units, secure the floor. Possible breach." The intercom crackled as alarms blared. Through the one-way mirror, I saw masked figures with heavy rifles approaching the door. They rammed it with a battering ram. Marquez cursed from the other side. "They're too many. We need backup." I pulled Titan close. "Hold tight," I whispered to the dog, then drew my Glock. The door flew inward as mercenaries burst through, rifles trained on me. Titan leapt beside me, hackles raised. Their leader barked, "Stand down, Sheriff. The commissioner must be freed." I raised my gun, adrenaline surging. "Not on my watch." I fired a shot at the ceiling to disorient them. Debris rained down. Titan roared, launching himself at the nearest assailant, knocking the rifle from his hands. Marquez and Slater rushed in, weapons blazing. The room descended into chaos. Shots rang out, glass shattered, chairs overturned. I ducked behind Hallstrom's cell block, firing at advancing figures. One mercenary aimed directly at the commissioner. I fired a precise shot, grazing his shoulder. He yelped and clutched the corridor wall. The hallway exploded with gunfire as deputies engaged the attackers. I sprinted through the melee, grabbing Hallstrom by the collar. "We're moving," I barked. Titan led the way, charging through the door into the brightly lit corridor. Debris scattered underfoot as we barreled ahead. Marquez brought up the rear, covering us with her rifle. We reached the stairwell only to find it blocked by more black-clad mercenaries. Slater kicked open the side door to the janitor's shaft. "In here!" he yelled. We dove inside. The metal shaft groaned as doors slammed behind us and heavy boots pounded overhead. I slid the hatch closed and turned to the others. "We need to flush them out." Marquez examined the shaft's rusty pipes. "We could trigger the sprinklers deeper in the building." I nodded. "Use the maintenance panel near the control room." Titan nosed the panel. I pried it open and dropped a small device, an electronic pulse to overload the system. Within seconds, water gushed from overhead. I kicked the grate shut. Time to end this. Downstairs, mercenaries staggered, forced to retreat from torrents. Their rifles hydrolocked, they shouted in panic. Titan bounded down to confront them, snapping at their ankles. Marquez and Slater moved in, cuffing soggy attackers one by one. I stormed through the flooded corridor, wading through knee-deep water. I spotted the group's leader barking orders. I leveled my voice. "Ivory Tower's mercenaries, stand down." He spun, pistol raised. I fired. The shot hit his thigh, he dropped the weapon, collapsing. Titan pinned him. I cuffed him. That's enough. Breathing hard, I turned to Hallstrom. Looks like your rescue failed. The commissioner glared at me, dripping water. This isn't over, he spat. I hauled him forward. Oh, it is. I'm bringing you and your boss to justice. Marquez looked at me, water dripping from her helmet, and firmly nodded deeply. Slater grinned, adrenaline roaring in her eyes. We paused at the exit, watching deputies seal off the flooded hall. I tapped my comms, all units revert to normal codes. Maintain heightened alert. Notify federal partners, this operation now crosses jurisdictional boundaries. Titan nudged my hand, eyes bright. I ruffled his fur and told my team, let's move out, this is far from over. The water cascaded behind us as we moved toward the emergency exit. Titan walked at my heel, muzzle dripping. My heart raced, but I felt a grim satisfaction. We had beaten back another wave. But the real war was just beginning. The rain had barely let up by the time we reached the Carrington Estate's wrought iron gates. Headlights carved through the fog as the SUV rolled to a stop. My heart pounded in my chest, not just from the lingering adrenaline of the precinct siege, but from a gnawing conviction that this assault would test us all. Titan leaned out the window, ears pricked, nostrils flared. Inside, Deputy Marquez checked her magazine count. Deputy Slater tapped her comms mic, the gates stood wide, one pillar shattered. I killed the engine and we slipped out. The gravel crunched under our boots as we approached the opulent driveway. Luxury sedans lay overturned, windshields spiderwebbed, doors ajar. A pair of masked assailants in faux sheriff vests dragged a uniformed security guard toward the main entrance, shotgun slung over his shoulder. They'd replaced his company badge with a replica of mine, the stolen patch of ivory tower glaring in the dim light. I signaled for them to freeze. But one thug spun, firing blindly. Slater dove behind a marble planter. Marquez returned fire. Titan bolted forward, teeth bared, knocking another attacker off balance. I raised my pistol, firing 2 shots that struck a helmeted mercenary in the thigh, sending him crashing into the hedge. He yelped and slumped. We advanced, keeping low. The cement underfoot was slick with rain, illuminated by our flashlights. Inside, the foyer glowed under crystal chandeliers. Carrington's voice echoed from a landing above, "You'll never get away with this." A whip crack of laughter answered him. A tall figure in a tailored suit descended, hands raised as if enjoying a private joke. "Sheriff Matthews," he purred, voice smooth as silk. "So good of you to join the party." My finger hovered on the trigger. "Let him go, Carrington." The councilman emerged behind the suited man, bruised and drenched but alive. Blood trickled from a gash on his brow. He squinted at me with relief, the suited man's lips twisted. "No. Your reputation is too valuable, I've been waiting to test it." He raised a pistol, Marquez shouted. "Move." Instinct kicked in. Slater rolled forward, tackling the suited man's ankle. The gun arm swung at Slater, I fired, disarming him. Titan lunged, knocking the weapon away. The suited man wrestled free and grabbed Carrington, yanking him toward the grand staircase. "Leave us or he dies." He snarled. Titan lunged for the hostage-taker, but I grabbed Titan's harness, yanking him back. A chandelier quivered overhead as footsteps thundered behind me. Reinforcements? No. The suited man's partner appeared on the second-floor balcony, rifle leveled at Carrington's head. I needed a plan, and fast. I pressed my back against the foyer's marble pillar, heart racing. "We'll follow your orders." I called out, voice steady. "Lower your weapon." He laughed. "Gladly." He stepped back, Carrington's arm slipping to his side. The rifle on the balcony tracked him like a hawk. My eyes flicked upward. I tapped Marquez, 2 fingers, then point. She nodded, edging toward the balustrade. "Now." I yelled. Marquez vaulted over, firing 2 shots at the balcony rail. The sniper's scope clanged to the floor, the bullet tore through a tapestry, missing Carrington by inches. The assassin cursed, firing blindly. Slater tackled him before he could fire again. The suited man wrestled free on the stairs, pistol aimed, another volley erupted. Titan bolted up the staircase, placing himself between Carrington and the suited man. Carrying my police radio, I triggered the uplink. Dispatch, SWAT teams en route. 10 minutes. The suited man growled at me. Think that'll help? I leveled my Glock again. Maybe. Now drop him. He laughed again, gun arm twitching. Then the entire foyer lights went dark, power cut. Hesitant footsteps echoed from the corridor doors. Lantern beams swiveled through stained glass, a soft click sounded behind me. The suited man turned to see a uniformed deputy with shotgun leveled, Deputy Diaz, the volunteer. She didn't hesitate, her shells slammed into his chest. He crumpled, dropping Carrington. Titan barked triumphantly, Marquez exhaled. Nice timing. The balcony assassin lunged at Slater. Blade gleaming. Slater deflected with her forearm, sending him over the balustrade. He vanished into the darkness below. I rushed to Carrington, kneeling beside him. You okay? He nodded, voice trembling. Behind us, we heard chanting, distorted voices over a loudspeaker somewhere in the mansion. This is Phase 2 of Operation Whiteout. All assets called to arms. My blood ran cold. The attack was coordinated across multiple fronts. Even as we fought here, they were moving elsewhere. I scowled. They're still playing. I stood, holstering my pistol. Titan nudged my hand. Time to take the fight back, I said. Slater found Carrington's phone, texts from his own safe house guide. Snapshots of locked storage rooms at Silvercrest offices. Evidence of the next target, the county jail. Marquez jammed her comms. Roadblock set. SWAT teams heading to Silvercrest, jail, and the mayor's office. Lightning flashed through the stained glass windows, painting the foyer in garish colors. The mansion was ours, but the war was far from over. The Ivory Tower conspirators had escalated further than we thought. More lives were at stake. I looked at Titan, the dog filtering the world down to a single moment of action. Let's move, I ordered. We're going after the rest of them. Deputy Marquez secured Carrington in an unmarked car while Slater guided Titan into the back seat. Rain hammered the windows as we sped away, each lost in thoughts of the coming battle. A strategic plan took shape: deploy teams around the jail perimeter, station undercover agents at Silvercrest headquarters, secure the mayor's office against insider sabotage. Rumors spoke of public works insiders ready to sever communications. If they succeeded, county infrastructure would collapse and send residents into panic. But we had will, training, the truth on our side. The night remained dark, but our resolve burned brighter. Ivory Tower's reign of terror was reaching its end. A week later, before dawn cracked the horizon, I convened every available unit in the newly fortified Incident Command at the Sheriff's Operations Center. Titan lay beside me atop a stack of maps as I tapped coordinates into the large display: Silvercrest Holdings headquarters, the county jail facility, and City Hall. Mayor Linda Hayes's annual charity gala would begin at 1900 hours in the municipal ballroom. Intelligence indicated she would be meeting with Ivory Tower's remaining lieutenants. Time to move. At 0600 hours, 3 SWAT teams rolled out in armored Bearcats, lights off, engines whisper quiet. I climbed into the lead vehicle, sliding my badge onto the dash for quick ID. Titan sat beside me, harness clipped to the floor. Let's finish this, I murmured, rubbing his ears. He thumped his tail. Phase 1, neutralize Silvercrest. By 0730, our drones hovered above the glass and steel tower downtown. Through back roads, I slipped inside with Marquez and Slater, using a commandeered service elevator. We emerged on level 4, security screens showed 3 armed guards posted at the main lobby. Slater dropped a flashbang into the elevator shaft, the concussion rocked the building. Marquez, fast as a whip, kicked open the door. I charged in, pistol blazing, followed by Titan. 2 guards crumpled, the third froze, hands raised. I cuffed him. A secured door remained ahead. Inside the executive suite, we found files confirming Mayor Hayes's clandestine payments to Ivory Tower, backed by Carrington's accounts. Sensitive emails detailed plans to frame me for corruption once the network collapsed. She planned to discredit the only lawman who could stop her, I growled. Marquez snapped photos. Evidence secured. Let's go. I keyed my comms, Silvercrest secure. Moving to Phase 2. Phase 2, Lockdown of the County Jail. By 0900, deputies established a perimeter. Intelligence warned that planted weapons and contraband had been stashed inside kits disguised as cleaning supplies. Inmate informants confirmed a cell block was rigged as a makeshift armory. I joined Deputy Rodriguez inside the control room. "Override door locks," I ordered. Rodriguez tapped the console, steel doors clanged open. Titan's nose guided us to cell block C. We moved in formation, Titan at point, Slater and Marquez flanking him. A guard tossed me a set of safety handcuffs. "Suspect spotted behind bars," he said. Through the bars, two hardened criminals scowled, once pawns of Ivory Tower. Marquez disarmed them while I secured their hands. Behind us, Titan nosed open a supply closet, revealing duffel bags of illegal weapons. "Directive from Mayor Hayes," I muttered. She was going to arm inmates in case the elected officials turned on her. Deputy Klein sealed the locker. I keyed my radio, jail secured. Weapons confiscated. All units head to City Hall. Phase 3, City Hall, 1845 hours. The gala buzzed with music and polite applause. Crystal chandeliers cast amber light over tuxedos and evening gowns. Mayor Hayes, dazzling in emerald green satin, greeted donors at the grand staircase. Councilman Carrington, bandaged brow hidden beneath a velvet mask, sipped champagne beside her. Ivory Tower lieutenants lounged across the marble floor, confident. Undercover officers mingled among guests. I wore formal attire but bore my badge openly beneath my jacket. Titan waited in the anteroom, ears pricked. My heart hammered, one wrong move would trigger a massacre. I caught Hayes's eye, she offered a polite nod, unaware of her pending arrest. At precisely 19:05 hours, I tapped my comms, all units to action positions. In the ballroom's reflection, I saw Slater inch toward a balcony ledge to release a cloud of concealed smoke canisters. Marquez positioned herself behind the orchestra. Titan's trainer signaled him forward. Without warning, I strode into the center of the floor, voice amplified through the gala's mic. "Mayor Hayes, Councilman Carrington, and your associates are under arrest by order of the County Sheriff's Department. Please remain calm." Gasps echoed. The orchestra halted mid-note. Guests froze, Hayes's smile faltered as Slater triggered the smoke. Thick white tendrils rolled across the marble. Officers in tactical gear stormed in from hidden doors. Titan burst through, barking, rounding up the stunned lieutenants. I saw Carrington's face drain, Hayes clutching at her bodice. She raised a trembling hand. "Sheriff, this is a mistake." I advanced, handcuffs ready. "You've conspired to commit kidnapping, racketeering, conspiracy, and attempted murder. You manipulated public trust for personal gain." The room erupted into chaos, some guests fled through side exits, others recorded on phones. Hayes tried to bolt up the staircase. Titan's keen ears tracked her footfalls. Within seconds, he leapt and grabbed her hem, tumbling her to the floor. I cuffed her wrists, reading her Miranda rights over the din of shouts. Councilman Carrington knelt, head bowed, accepting his cuffs. The last Ivory Tower lieutenant, the balcony assassin, tried to leap off but was met by Marquez's precision shot that shattered the balustrade a foot from his face. He collapsed sobbing. Slater handcuffed him seconds later. Within minutes, the entire network lay subdued. Mayor Hayes glared at me, fury burning in her eyes. "You'll regret this," she spat. I shrugged, voice calm. "Try me." Outside, SWAT teams secured the perimeter. I stepped onto the front steps as dawn light crept across the sky. Titan sat at my feet, panting, proud. On the polished marble. Plastic cuffs clattered, a signal of victory. Journalists swarmed, cameras flashing. I lifted my badge overhead. "Justice served," I announced. Days later, in the calm aftermath, I returned to Rustwood Park, same spot where Karen had called fake cops on me weeks earlier. The playground was empty, swings swinging in the breeze. I found her, hands bound in pink plastic cuffs, eyes red. She looked up, trembling. "Sheriff," she whispered. I knelt beside her on the bench. "You played a dangerous game," I said softly. "But unlike the real imposters, I'm accountable to the law." She bowed her head. I unshackled her and handed her a court summons. "See you in court." Karen's shoulders sagged. Realization dawning. I'm sorry. I stood, Titan at my side. Little did you know I'm the county sheriff, and little did you know I was taking notes. I tipped my hat. Case closed. As I walked away, Titan trotted ahead, tail wagging. The sun broke over the treetops, illuminating a banner in the distance, Rustwood Spring Fair, opening today. Families laughed. Children played. Order restored, trust renewed. And though the scars of corruption ran deep, justice had prevailed. The county was safe once more under my watch, and Karen's meddling had only helped me uncover the rot that nearly took us all down. The dark cloud of corruption that once loomed over City Hall had lifted, swept away by months of arrests, resignations, and public outcry. Mayor Hayes and Councilman Carrington sat behind bars without bail, and the Ivory Tower cartel had been dismantled from the top down. I wasn't just a sheriff now, I was a symbol of integrity in a place where power had once gone unchecked, but even as peace returned, I never allowed myself to relax. Justice, after all, wasn't a destination, it was an ongoing commitment. I parked my patrol SUV outside the county's new Community Resource Center. The building stood where Silvercrest Holdings headquarters used to be, now a hollow shell repurposed for the people. Inside, local teens took self-defense classes, seniors learned basic tech skills, and job fairs offered second chances. I walked through the main hall, nodding at familiar faces. Sheriff Williams, said a young woman at the front desk, standing straighter than usual. Thank you for approving our grant. I smiled. Keep doing what you're doing, Natalie. This center's changing lives. Before I left, I checked the schedule. Titan was set to appear in an educational demo for kids, part of our new K-9 outreach program. I found him lounging in the staff lounge, getting his belly rubbed by a group of giggling students. You're a celebrity now, I teased. Titan barked once in agreement. We returned to the street, the sun beaming down as I strolled into town square. Rustwood sidewalks were buzzing with energy, vendors, musicians, children skipping rope. But as I passed the bakery, I noticed something strange. A black Escalade idled too long at a red light, windows tinted darker than legal. My instincts kicked in, I crossed to the corner, fingers brushing the butt of my holstered Glock. A flash of movement inside the SUV. Someone leaned forward, then peeled off, tires squealing. I activated my radio. Suspicious vehicle just fled the downtown square. Black Escalade, license starts with 8x9. Headed eastbound toward county limits. Deputy Marquez responded instantly. Copy that. I'm 3 blocks away. Intercepting. I turned back toward the square, just in time to see a commotion at the far end. A man sprinted from the alley, clutching a large duffel bag. Behind him, an elderly store clerk shouted, "Thief! He robbed us." Titan didn't need a command. He lunged into action, paws pounding the pavement. The man raced across traffic, weaving through pedestrians. Titan barreled past me, dodging a fruit cart, closing the distance with ruthless speed. The suspect cut through a narrow walkway, hoping to lose him. Bad call. Seconds later, Titan pounced, teeth clamping the suspect's pant leg, yanking him to the ground. I caught up just in time to cuff the man. Breathless and groaning, "Sheriff," a young boy said nearby, eyes wide. That was awesome. I gave him a wink. That's why you don't run from the law, kid. Back at the station, we processed the thief and learned he was part of a small crew trying to test Rustwood's response times, probing for weak points now that the Ivory Tower was gone. But we weren't weak anymore. We were stronger than ever. Later that evening, I sat on the bench at Rustwood Park, same place where it all began. A gentle breeze stirred the leaves. Titan lay beside me, eyes half closed, but alert. I looked up at the clear night sky and thought about how quickly everything had changed. That day with Karen, what seemed like a petty incident, ended up exposing a whole web of lies. Crimes, and corruption. Her racism, entitlement, and manipulation weren't just social annoyances, they were weapons she wielded to try and destroy innocent lives. But in the end, her lies only shone a spotlight on the darkness that needed to be cleared. Karen, for her part, was serving community service under strict court monitoring. Her mugshot had gone viral, and she became a nationwide example of how fake calls and racial profiling carried consequences. The courts also ordered her to attend mandatory bias training, and from what I heard, she showed up to every session, face down, avoiding eye contact, redemption. Maybe. But justice? Absolutely. As I sat there, the town around me peaceful and still. A familiar voice broke the quiet, Sheriff Williams. I turned to see a teenage girl approaching, nervous but determined. She wore a hoodie with the Rustwood High logo, and a notepad in her hand. "I'm Angela," she said. "Editor of the school paper. Mind if I ask you a few questions?" I chuckled. "Sure. Fire away." She sat beside me, opening her notepad. "What made you keep going? Even when they tried to discredit you?" I thought for a moment. "Because the badge doesn't make you the law. Your actions do. When people abuse power or pretend to have it, like those fake cops Karen called, it's our job to push back. Loud, firm, and without compromise." Angela scribbled quickly, then looked up. "And what would you tell someone afraid to speak up?" I met her eyes. "Speak anyway. Justice starts with one voice. Then another joins in. Before you know it, a town is standing together. That's what we did here. That's what we'll keep doing." She nodded. "Thanks, Sheriff. That's going in the headline." She left, and I sat there a little longer, watching the town I loved come back to life. Titan shifted, letting out a soft whine. "Come on, boy," I said, rising to my feet. "Let's go home." As we walked down the path, streetlights flickered on. A mother pushed a stroller. A teen played guitar on the corner. Laughter echoed in the distance. For now, Rustwood was safe, but I'd never forget where it started. Karen had called fake cops on the wrong man, and that mistake changed everything. Hope you enjoyed the story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more intense stories like this.